All right, let's hear a story. Oh, hey, look, that's not the right slide. All right, that's the first slide, more or less. And let's find my speaker notes. Okay, cool. You can find it here. It's gonna take. It's like this is using Tom McWright's big presentation software, which he was really into about like 10 years ago. It's fun, but it's just like a single non-lazy loaded page with like 40 PNGs right now. So if you all get on there at once, it's gonna be awesome. Let me set a timer because I'm gonna talk for a while. What do I have like 2 hours or what was the? Yeah. Cool. So hey, oh, that's my little friend Potty. That's not his name. That was like that's a bad name for a pot, but you get it. He or let's go they. They'll be back. Hi, I'm Dan Wood. I'm a graphics reporter at NPR. If you pull up my slides real quick, they're gonna look terrible on mobile because for once in my life I'm liberated from needing to optimize for mobile. I'm sorry. The rest of my life I have to do that, and now I don't. But if you're on desktop, if you pull up, I think it's Command Option I or something. Anyway, look in the dev tools in the console. You'll see the speaker notes if you want to see them there, or you can read the HTML, I guess. These are our friends that are helping us today on our journey through Slippy Maps. I'm going to retitle this from whatever I put in the thing to if this idiot can self-host his own custom tiles, then you can too. This is what I don't normally do Slippy Maps. I'm normally making like static maps that tell one specific story, and you're not really finding yourself in the data. You're seeing a clear story in the data. So in this case, this was unharvested grain in Ukraine from last year before we thought Ukraine was the biggest war story we were going to get. Things happened. This is like a bunch of AIS transponder data that we munged and made this cool illustration of big ships crossing a whale's habitat. Here's there's no good reason for me to show you this, but it's a cool Blender map I made for a story. It's really cool. So I used to make a lot of Slippy maps about 10 years ago. I worked at the Department of Energy for a while, and I would make pretty maps like this. I mean, pretty-ish. You know, it's 2014. It's been a while. But over the last 5 years, I haven't really been making many at all. Why? And I think a lot of us here know kind of some of the reasons why like a reporter might not be using that tool as much as maybe we did 10 years ago. And one of the reasons is right here. So this is actually what it looks like right now. If you go to the energy.gov's website, the JavaScript works, but the tile set is no longer supported, or they stopped paying for it, or something. Who knows? Not all are broken, but I do wonder, like, what is this still costing my old employer, Urban Institute, to host these tiles on Mapbox? Maybe it's not a lot because I don't think a lot of people are looking at it, but that's all right. But to quote, I didn't ask if I could quote this, so you were on the record. Sorry, Brandon, you weren't on the record, but I'm paraphrasing here. He said something that made a lot of sense to me last night. It was, you wouldn't pay someone a monthly subscription just to host your own CSS files. And I think what Brandon is trying to do with Protomaps and PMTiles is to lower the clearance rate of being able to host your own tiles, make it similar to hosting your own HTML, hosting your own CSS. So can we free the tile? Wow, is this like a Mapbox like plenary from 2014 or 2013? So why is that important? NPR is a nonprofit, which means we're kind of poor. And so this is a problem when we do want to make Slippy maps, what I'm going to call Slippy maps from the rest of this talk. Our peers are still making incredible maps. So here's an example. This is, again, it's not a super, if you're looking at like top news organizations, it's not super common to actually use a fully Slippy find yourself in the data map anymore. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Most data sets just do not lend themselves to that, and they're just hard to do. This is an example by New York Times. Josh Katz, who helped make this, is here. I haven't met him, but it's a great map. Shout out, Josh. I want to in on the fun. It's been a long time, and I found a data set. So this is the USDA's plant hardiness zone map. You can go and use this Esri tool to find yourself in the data, and it does a great job. It tells you what zone you were, what zone you are now, what the temperature change. And so really quick, has anybody heard of the USDA plant hardiness zone map? So that's like a pretty good amount of you. I asked my dad about this when I was starting this project. He's like a super green thumb, master gardener type, but he didn't have the definition right. So as I dug into this, what I realized is a lot of people know, like, oh, I'm zone 7, I'm zone 8, this means I can grow stuff. But what does it really mean? And so the journalist in me was like, I want to dig into this. And also, I'm a gardener now myself because you become your father. That's just what happens in your 30s. And I wanted to like learn like how things have changed, but then also like the climate change angle, like why is this happening? What's not being, wait, is that 10 left or I've done, okay, cool. Hey, no problem, I'm chill. Anyway, I wanted to, you'll get it. You'll read the article, it's fine. There's just a lot here that I think is really cool, and we did a quick turnaround when this news was announced in 2023. My colleague Julia Simon did this like quick report on this. Allie Hurt, who's been on the NPR team for a long time, just did this quick like compare back and forth of those maps. It's not the prettiest. It works enough, you know, and it got like a crazy amount of views. So we were like, oh, hey, there's like an audience for this. People care about this sort of stuff, and I care about this sort of stuff. So I want to do this, but I love this, but I want more. I want more zoom. I want to see myself. I want to understand like what's my minimum temperature that's been over the last 30 years. I want to know what it means for my plants and stuff like that. But how? All right, so enter Kevin Shaw from the Washington Post. He made this awesome blog last year that was explaining how they moved away from Mapbox with open source tools. It's how I learned about PMTiles and some of this other stuff. I'd used Maplibre GL JS, but that was about it. So yeah, this is the map in question. So maybe it's possible, I'm thinking. And all I need to know is to understand all of these things that I don't understand at all. So I tried to dig in, and simple workflow to bake your own tiles from OSM data. Maybe it's going to be easy. Oh, all right, well, maybe this was like fine. Kevin Shaw says it's the most bonkers makefile I've ever seen, which I can confirm. And it involves Docker, which everybody knows how to use Docker. I do not know how to use Docker. So I aired out on a few different things and felt kind of trapped. Maybe their parent company will help me. Wait a minute. I feel like this is looking a lot like other sources, other companies that I'm trying to avoid. So, all right, I'm getting a little stressed. So I did like a whole bunch of tutorials thinking about like SQL and Postgres and hating it. And after a while, I had a rough idea of how the stack would look. Well, that's cool, but I didn't really have a map. Thankfully, I went to NICAR. See, I always get NACIS and NICAR mixed up because it's the only two conferences I really go to. So NICAR is a bunch of nerds that do news. Some of them are maps, some of them are not. Chris Amico, he's a journalist and programmer at the Muck Rock, and he does just a bunch of really helpful tutorials and stuff. He did a standing room only talk on Protomaps, PMTiles, that was really helped crack the code for us. We made this. I recommend if you go to my slides and click through on desktop, because I disabled it on mobile. But anyway, click through on desktop, you can find the tutorial. I recommend doing it. It's amazing. So guess what? You don't have to make your own tiles from scratch. You can just get Brandon's. Every day, Brandon, you can ask, every Monday, is it Monday, Brandon? I don't know where you are. Yes, every Monday, he puts out a new world, it's about 120 gigabytes now, file, and you can download it and use those tiles as you wish. It's a big-ass download, but I believe in you. You are resourceful. You can do it. There are ways. And you can also extract a smaller portion. Talk to Brandon about it. I don't know. I actually didn't realize this until after the fact, so I downloaded the whole thing. And then after that, all you have to do is put it in an S3 bucket. You just query that one file on its own, and it's super straightforward. It's amazing. But hey, and then you do this kind of stuff. You don't care about that. Just copy and paste it. It's fine. That's what I did, and then eventually it worked. But wait, there's more. If you don't want to use S3, which is fine, you can actually get an API key from Brandon and use it. If you're non-commercial, you can use it for free. But you can also just sponsor him anyway. So here it is. I'll take a couple minutes now for us all to go on our phones and click this. And no, I'm just kidding. But do sponsor Brandon. He's doing this all for cheap, and you guys should sponsor him. I am, as of this morning. Thank you, Brandon. For demonstration purposes, I didn't want to be a hypocrite, and I'm happy to do it. This is incredible, an incredible utility that he's basically giving us for free. Now, I'm not using those tiles, but you can use his tiles hosted on his server, and if you are a business, you can pay him, and if you're an individual doing it for non-commercial, you can do it for free. Like, don't go super viral, maybe? I don't know. Talk to him about that. I'm not sure. He is really smart. Talk to him more about all this stuff. Okay, so let's talk money real quick, because I really want to get into this. So for Mapbox, right? Okay, so just, we're not always going to get millions and millions of views on every single thing we do. I mean, we do get millions of views on everything. We don't. So if something goes super viral, like, what can I expect? Let's just, like, imagine 1 million tile views is actually, or 1 million loads, I guess, would be like 45 million tile views, I think, in what I'm comparing it with. That would be a success, I think, and what would that cost us, right? And so in these sort of things, you become a victim of your own success when you're hosting and you're depending on when what it costs scales with how many views you get. So, oh, I'm super successful. Oops, now we've got a huge bill. So at Mapbox, that'd be about $3,000 for that month. Now, we're not going to get 1 million views every single month because it's not like an app you're continuing to have people go to, but still, that's a big thing for our tiny budget. This is a super helpful tool on Brandon's website. You can compare, Google Maps hosted map API. You see what that is? Protomaps on AWS and on Cloudflare. I don't know what Cloudflare is, okay? That's good. I don't need to know what it is, and that's the beauty of this. We use AWS, and an equivalent to this 3,000 would be about 500 for us. When you look at that, what that is basically bandwidth to the internet. It's not storage. So I was initially really afraid of like, oh, I'm going to download the whole Earth and then host the whole Earth. What's that storage cost going to be for us month to month? I guess $3. I mean, like, that's amazing. You can host all of OSM in an AWS bucket for $3. Pretty cool. So basically, transferring the data of about 100,000 tiles is $1. I mean, that's incredible. It's an incredible utility. If you have a small project, it's going to be pennies, right? If you have a big project like ours, it's still going to be inside the realm of possibility. Hundreds of dollars instead of thousands, and we own everything for perpetuity. So the two main axes of saving money here would be like reduce the number of tiles requested and reduce the size of each tile, right? Quickly, I'll just tell you what we tried to do in order to optimize. We hid layers at certain zoom levels. So like, for instance, we opted to show a hillshade layer when you were zoomed in, but like less when you were zoomed out. We lazy loaded layers, so I'll show you later, but like at first you're looking at 2012, then you're looking at 2015 or 2023, and then you're looking at a temperature change. And you don't need to have all those layers loaded in memory at the same time, so we lazy loaded those. But that's complicated, but you can do it. You can figure it out. Resourceful. And then we capped like the maximum zoom level in explore mode because we wanted people to explore it. But not too much, Also, we kind of delayed when you could explore because we also wanted to tell a story. Anyway, yeah, cool. Really quick, I'm going to get into styling. Because I mainly have been focusing on getting the tiles. You have to make them look pretty. I love the style spec. It's so cool. It's so easy to read. So Maputnik is actually is a great place to start, but I actually find it really confusing to get like off the ground with. So I'm thinking about doing like a blog post tutorial about that. If you are interested in that, let me know so I can find some motivation to do it. But I just find it's just hard to get started. Once you're there, then you're tweaking levers and buttons, and that's great. But like kind of connecting the wires can be really difficult. What I actually recommend is taking an existing style spec that is open source and then just putting that in and starting to titrate on your stuff, what you want. That's what we did for the base map. But what about for the USDA data? This is what it looks like in QGIS when you just kind of give it random, which is beautiful. Who doesn't want to write this sort of code? So like a conditional that is epic. But I actually learned that ChatGPT was super helpful in decoding like the Mapbox style spec. This is not for that, but for something similar, like write a style for a layer in Mapbox or Maplibre GL JS that gives a fill opacity of 0 for zoom levels 1 through 7, and then a fill opacity of 0.5, blah, blah, blah. And it'll do it. And it'll work most of the time. However, it will lie to you. Is there a way to do that for only the fill outlines opacity? And the answer is no. At least it's not as anything I could find. But it'll say, yeah, sure, you can do it. And it'll give me a method how to do it. But if you Google transparentize for Maplibre, it doesn't exist. So trust but verify is what I would say. After styling with Mapbutnik and other stuff, we have a customizable, fast, and cheap map. So there's a whole other talk I could do about like how we process the USDA's data and 30 years of minimum temperature data. If you're interested in that, let me know. But I'm not doing that here. So like here is a little demo of what we ended up with. The graphics, or sorry, the illustrations are all from my super talented colleague, Connie Jin. They're throughout this thing and really bring like a lot of delight to the piece. But what's really neat about this is by using vector layers, we could query the layers themselves to get every point in the country. We pre-populated, I think, like 30,000 places that you can type in, and like, I mean, it gets pretty obscure. And I added a few extras that I'd noticed weren't there because it's my hometown, like I wanted to add it. And it'll kind of go through a whole thing, and the whole story is customized for the location you put in, which was extremely difficult to do, but really fun. So like for Cheverly, it's going to tell you all about Cheverly. That's where I live. And then when you go on, it'll tell you about the 30 years of Cheverly's history and outliers and whatever. And what else do I have? All right, so some quick pros. 1 minute left. Hell yeah, I'm like right there. It's cheap. It was really, really inexpensive from a dollar's perspective, right? We weren't going out to get a lot of help to do this, or any. Of course, time is money, and that goes into the cons. We'll get there in a second. Beautiful, customizable. It's using the full array of what Maplibre has to offer in terms of, VectorTiles has to offer when it comes to styling. And then PMTiles is just, I mean, it's really a revelation in terms of what it's able to do in terms of storing things in one place, getting it. It's amazing. I don't fully even understand it, and that's the whole point. The whole point is I don't fully understand it, and we're doing this, which is great. And then you keep it forever, or until AWS it gets too expensive or explodes or something else. When Ohio goes down, we'll roll over to Reston. I don't know, something like that. But some cons. It's time-consuming to learn and daunting, and there's a lot of like tutorials out there, and you're going to want to learn them, and then sometimes you don't have time. Or you get stuck, like you get stuck doing Docker. Time is up. Less support when you get lost compared to like paying for a service like Mapbox. They're going to have dedicated support. Alt projection support, not yet. They are working on, like, I would love to have had it not be in Web Mercator, but you know, it was. But Maplibre's working on it. There's a roadmap. You can go find it online. And it's maybe Mapbox Studio might be easier to style with. I haven't used it in about 6 years. I don't know. This is the end of my talk. Is less detailed than the beginning. And you can find it at npr.org/gardenmap. And here's a whole bunch of super helpful links that you can go to. I'm not going to talk about them now, but go to them and find them. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thanks. We have time for a question or two.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
Before I get to my question, I just have to say about that little thing that was running around the screen. I've heard of pink elephants, but this is ridiculous. Can you use these methods with any subject matter that, with any subject matter, like let's say vegetation, human migration, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just vector tiles, right? So anything that's a vector, you can use it. And we opted to use vector tiles for the instead of raster tiles for the USDA. It comes as a raster, and it's a lot bigger when you make it into a vector, but it was queryable in a way that was really, really special and helpful. And then also titrating design was way easier with vectors than with rasters, so that's what we went with. And it's easy to do now, yeah.
Great. Anyone else? One more question.
I think we have one up here. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for your talk. It was amazing, and I can't wait to dive into trying what you were presenting. I'd like to apply it to water availability in Texas. I'm going to totally go home and do it.
Go for it.
Thanks.
I think you can do it.
Thanks. It was amazing.
Cool. Awesome. You can find me after. I'll be here for the rest of the day. Thanks.